Hi guys, and welcome to another FM20 video. This one is generally going to be looking at lots of little stuff I was able to find and get some footage of, as well as I wanted to show you the regen bases. I wanted to put this in a separate video. So this is the youth intake page. One thing you'll notice about this is that it is no longer filterable by month. I don't know if this is a thing that's only in this version of the game or whether this is going to be how it's going to be going forward, but it is just a big block of players for the entire year. Which means that if you're doing what I'm doing often with youth intakes, where I will scout almost all the youth intakes if I've got enough scouts, it's going to be more complex this year. And I guess I don't mind that, really. You'll notice the first player on the list literally is called Stephanie Bingo. I mean, I can't really go wrong. Now, when I was choosing this, I was mainly going through this so I could show you guys what the new youth intake players look like. So you can see, again, they just look so much better. Now, when I was choosing the players to show you for this, I was mainly using who had the funniest name. Not all of them. I sort of reverted over to that after a little while because I had 400,000 players turned on just because I wanted to see how the game kind of handled it. And what I would definitely say is the processing definitely seems faster. Without a shadow of a doubt, it seems easier to go between matches, even with a huge amount of players turned on. I mean, look at that. The beard, it looks much more realistic. Now, I intend to use a skin that will probably have bigger faces. So I don't know how well these things will be like if they're scaled up. But I genuinely do think they've bridged the gap between what they looked like before and sort of Chilled Moose's face pack that I was kind of using. Because that's unsustainable to use for everything. But again, particularly with the beards and stuff, they just look a lot better than they did before. They don't look like aliens, and I think that's a huge step in the right direction. Even with the bald lad here, with his lovely little mustache, looks pretty good, to be honest. I have to say, a lot of clubs available. It just, even with that amount of players turned on, it certainly moved at a much faster speed. Now, again, it could be because it's at the start of the save, but I don't really think it was. I think that there's definitely been some stuff done under the hood to improve the way that games process, and that's a really important factor. You'll notice that I found a player here called Stephen McNally. Not a huge surprise, but the fact that he plays for a team called 2 Mile Boris, I had to show you this. I just couldn't really go around it. I think they actually have a longer name than 2 Mile Boris. It's like 2 Mile Boris St Kevin's. St Kevin's! Beautiful stuff. This is what I love about FM, finding players with Zin Min Win. I mean, that's just perfect, isn't it? I probably put in too many of these funny player names that I was finding, but honestly, I spent about 20 minutes just looking through Gutenberg. Spent about 20 minutes looking through that Prince Wellington, going through the different options, just seeing what I could find from Soccer Bridge Academy. Obviously, he's outside our scouting scope, because obviously this was when I was at Fulham, I believe. But still, Van Basten, what a beautiful name that is. But now, looking at the tactics screen, I just wanted to show you a few little the changes that have been made in here. Now, there is selection advice, which is great and all, and you'll see more of that in a second. But one thing I noticed here, you have the option now to pick youth prospects. And that's really, really nice. Now, when I tried it out here, because of the way that I'd filtered things, it didn't actually change the squad all that much. However, I'm pretty certain that what's going to happen is this is going to be perfect for those cup matches where you go, right, it's the Carabao Cup, third round, we'll play in, I don't know, Yeovil Town or whatever. I want to put the youth players out, but my God, sometimes it's a ball ache to do that. So now you can just hit that and it will put in theory, youth prospects based on your coaches. Now, this is one of the things I really, really like. Team selection advice. You can ask your coach essentially why or who should be in the team. It will give you pros and cons for each individual position. I feel like it's basically an extrapolation of what you get from the tactics menu where you can hover over certain quadrants and it will tell you stuff. So here Alfie Mawson is showing you. Dennis Odoi could suffer if played in this position because morale. It's interesting that morale could suffer. I don't know how well that actually works. But then what you'll see now, because this is based on, I believe, the current lineup, I think. But if you were to go, okay, I want to know what my goalkeeping coach has to say about this. You can then go up to that menu bit at the top where it says recommendation from, and it will then give you a different choice here. I'm going to have a look at Steve Wigley. So he has different ideas, whether it's Cyrus Christie for Dennis Odoi or Stefan Johansson over Kevin McDonald, Harry Arter over Steph Joe in this particular situation. They'll give you their reasons why. Now, again, to me, the better the coaches are, the more sensible their suggestions are going to be. So do take what they say with a pinch of salt if they've got bad sort of attributes in certain areas. But then you can literally, after you've done that, go use suggested squad. And to me, this is a really nice way. It's like quick pick, but it's got way more depth to it than otherwise. I just had a little look at a couple more. So you'll notice that most of the positions are kind of set in, but some of them, there's definitely a lot of debate. Now, again, on Team Report, this area, because it's so early in the game, will be much more useful further in. But again, it's kind of like that tactical menu you get when you're on the actual submit squad page. You can go in and click, and obviously there's an analyst report here, but there's nothing on it because, of course, we're on the early stages of the season, so there's nothing to actually show. There's even things like key moments on here, which, again, I don't know what that means, but I'm very much looking forward to finding out. Next up is a pretty simple thing. This is the squad registration page. Really, really simple little additions. I like the green bars because it just, I don't know, a visual representation, particularly for people that are very visual like I am, being able to see exactly at a quick glance whether you're meeting their expectations or not is quite important. You might also notice there's a little tick box in the top corner that says exclude future transfers out. I like these little tiny quality of life updates that just make things a tiny little bit easier for each screen. They've just been shuffled around. There's one stuff I didn't have any footage of, but the rules pages now on the certain leagues, because they were always a bit of a mess. Now they've been streamlined dramatically. You can also see the training camp squad, but I believe you could do that before. Unfortunately, I have no footage of this because I wasn't recording at the time. That's my fault. But essentially, it will now show you, particularly if the league has quite a complicated format. So if you're in the Netherlands or Belgium or Denmark, where they've got some quite even in Poland, quite frankly, you now get a much more like a visual breakdown of the league's format. Not only that, it's all separated into different areas. You can look at the prize money much easier. It's just really, really nice little features like that that just make the game so much easier to play and information so much easier to understand. And I am hugely thankful for those little things that have been put in like that. Now we come to the staff screen. Looks fairly similar, as I'm sure you can imagine. That's fine. However, you now have this opportunity in the bottom corner to set things like responsibilities. You can see the loan manager that I talked about in a previous video in there too. He comes out of the recruitment team, obviously, because that's kind of what he does. And I believe the technical director, as you can see again, is under there as well. Now, I don't believe that Fulham have the option. Yeah, we do, in fact. Yeah, 0 of 1 technical directors, but you can delegate much, much more easily than before. There's an option in a lot of the screens, basically, it'll be highlighted that will just say delegate, and you can then choose who it goes to, as you can see here. So these are all the different recruitment options that we've got. You can click delegate, and then it will give you the option to delegate to certain players. Now, the loan manager is kind of the player that you'd want doing that, but of course we don't actually have one right now, so there's the director of football would probably handle that. It really does depend, but it's so much easier than having to go into the responsibilities menu every time you wanted to change something, particularly as you're doing stuff and you're like, actually, I don't really want to do that anymore. You've now got more, I think, granular control over things. I know I've said granular a few times in these videos, but before you'd have your assistant handle press conferences. Now you can specifically choose which type of press conferences those people, and you don't always have to be your assistant, you can send other people too, actually handle. And I don't think that was possible before. Now you could say, right, you do tunnels, but I'm going to handle everything else. And of course, something that was kind of gone under the radar, but I really do think is quite nice, the opportunity to save all of your set piece routines in one go. I think this menu as well works way better than it did before. I found that it was quite buggy, but again, it could have been because of the skin I was using. I think it's much easier to... It doesn't look that different, but it feels better. When you're dragging players into the correct positions, you can now save and load all routines, which means if you build a load of routines for a tactic, you can go, right, save all of them, boom. Big file that has all the routines for that tactic in. Because one of the most annoying things I found was like, right, I now want to put that on another tactic. Good, I've now got to sit there and move every single different type of set piece over to this new tactic. You can now, I believe, save all of your routines from one tactic and dump them straight into another one, and that is glorious. Now, particularly if you're the kind of person that actually has more than one routine for each individual thing, because you can have them on a rotation, I believe, and that would be an awful lot of work, and it's just nice little quality of life upgrades like that, and it works the same with throw-ins as well, works the same with free kicks, works the same with corners. Very, very nice, and I assume it's the same for defending or attacking. I don't know if there's any difference. I don't remember there being a quick throw option, but I'm sure there was. It's just I never used it. And last but not least is the code of conduct. It's something you'll be presented with at the very start of the game. It allows you to essentially set those fines and stuff that you see for players missing training, all sorts, at the very beginning of the save. And you've got a bit more control over it now. So, you know, if it happens more than once, I say there's a limited amount of control. So the most you can fine them is 2 weeks' wages, as far as I can tell. I didn't see any options when I was clicking through these to have them gone for any more than that. But it does certainly save a lot of time. I'm not sure how much of a quality... I mean, it's definitely going to save you some time, but I feel like these things don't come up that often. But I suppose at the same time, it's still nice to have the option to sort this stuff out at the very beginning of the game, because then you can kind of just set it and forget it. Now, also important to note that, as you can see here, it's Tom Kearney that's brought these to me, because the captain is essentially liaising with the manager to say, right, this is what we believe is fair, and then you can turn around and go, yeah, how about no? And you can say, right, we're going to be incredibly harsh about this. Now, again, that could upset the players. I didn't get a negative response from Tom Kearney. I believe I changed a couple of these. But I think if you were to say, right, they're all 2 weeks fines for every single offence, you're probably going to find that the players get pretty shitty at you for that, because let's face it, that's not particularly reasonable, and it also doesn't really set the bar to go anywhere and give them any reason to not do it. So it could act as a deterrent. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this and you're looking forward to some more FM20 content, which will be coming up very, very soon, do drop a like on the video. That'd be awesome, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.